The information provided here is not legal advice and does not purport to be a substitute for advice of counsel on any specific matter. For legal advice, you should always consult with an attorney concerning your specific situation.
Hey guys, welcome to Associate Tribe. Today we're going to be talking about the common question, how many cases should I be on at any one time? So the answer to how many cases should you be on at any one time is 2. The answer is 2. If not 2, be on 1. Okay, great talk. Just kidding, let's talk about this a little bit more. So the reason to get on a second case once you're already on a case is you can use those 2 cases as shields against one another and as lifeboats for one another. Now the object here is to control your work schedule as much as possible so that you can continuously put out quality work product, a high level of professionalism, and honestly enjoy being a lawyer working at a private law firm and see if this is something you can do for however many years in the future. You don't want to get so burnt out that the only way to have a manageable life is to quit. Now, when I talk about using a case as a shield against another case, here's what I mean. When you're working on one case, the partners and senior associates in that case know exactly what you're working on, exactly how long it should take you, and what additional projects they feel like you can take on. But once you get on a second case, it becomes infinitely more difficult for the partners and senior associates to know exactly what you're doing, exactly how long it's taking you, whether your work schedule is heavy or light, and they have to rely a lot more on what you're telling them, which gives you a lot more control over your work schedule. So let's talk about the second point, using a case as a lifeboat for another case. Now, cases end all the time, and most of the time very unexpectedly. Even if you're really involved in a case, it's hard to know how the parties are going to come out on settlement negotiations or whether a judge is going to grant a dispositive motion. And most of the time, these cases end all of a sudden. So it's really nice to have that second case to use as a lifeboat where you are already vetted, you're already on the team, it's something that you can already point to, and you're not left scrambling to fill up 100% of billable hours that were just lost when a case ended all of a sudden. Now, even if that second case isn't incredibly busy or hasn't really ramped up yet, that's okay. It's still very valuable to you. You can still point to it as something that you're working on, which can really insulate you from getting put on another case that's not that desirable, like a big document review project or a case with a partner that nobody gets along with. It really makes you less vulnerable to something like that. Even if it just insulates you for a week or 2, that gives you plenty of time to go and look for another case and get on another case that's a better fit for you. As we just discussed, being on 2 cases has a lot of benefits, a lot of advantages. 2 of the big ones we just talked about, working as a shield and working as a lifeboat for another case. It also gives you a lot more exposure to other partners and senior associates, maybe lets you work on a different type of law, maybe lets you work on a different stage of the case. So there's a lot of good things that come along with working on 2 cases. However, keep in mind that it does require you to be more assertive and more proactive in managing your work schedule than it would if you were just on one case. So do keep that in mind, that that's a very necessary part that you need to exercise if you're going to be on 2 cases. Now that we've talked about being on 2 cases, I would really like to make a plug for our runner-up being on 1 case, which we discussed at the beginning of the video, which is this. It really lets you sink your teeth into the case, get to know the facts, get to know the client, get to know the conflict, and gives you some really great opportunities throughout the case. So you're showing the same partners and senior associates over and over how you work, what you're working on, that you can be relied upon and trusted, which can get you a lot of good ownership over projects. And if the case goes all the way to trial, get you some really neat opportunities there too. So if you can't be on 2 cases, I highly recommend being on 1. It's a great opportunity and it gets you really far. Now, we talked about the advantages of being on 2 cases. We talked about the advantages of being on 1 case. What I would caution you against is being on 3 or more cases, if at all possible. I know it's a little bit counterintuitive, but being on 3 or more cases actually doesn't make your time more your own and actually gives you less control over your work schedule. You're going to be pulled in a dozen different directions by a dozen different partners, all of whom consider you their associate who's working on their case, which in their mind is the most important case. As harsh or unfair as it may sound, partners aren't going to care how many other cases you're on or what your other time commitments are. Their main concern is their case and the work you're doing on it. So if you start pushing deadlines or missing projects altogether, even if the reason for doing that is that you're working like crazy on 5 of their cases, they're not going to care. All they're going to see is that you're not devoting enough time to their case, and they're going to start making negative comments about it. And I've seen this happen to way too many good associates who should be getting nothing but stellar reviews get these kind of comments from partners. So please avoid getting on 3 or more cases if at all possible. Get on 2, if not 2, 1. That will give you the best chance at making everyone happy and being considered a very valuable member of your teams. I hope this was helpful. As usual, if you have any questions or comments, leave them in the comments section below. If you would like to receive a notification every time we release a new video, click on the subscribe button, and I look forward to seeing you in the next one.